and their CCs, and that's what results in a lot of kills, either under turret or in key team fights.
All right, so now if you're Dynasty going into Calamity, you've seen actually very few games of them, right? Unless you've gone and researched into the challenges, which I would hope that they have. There's not a huge sample pool like there is for most of the Vainglory8 teams of games and drafts to look at. When you're going into this team, are things like the Petal something that you have to consider banning going in, or is that something that's just too off the wall to really focus on?
I don't know if it's something you consider banning, but it is something you have to keep in mind and be prepared to build around it or play around it once you're in game, because you know it's something that has a very high chance of coming out. But I feel like teams have played against Petal previously enough that they should be able to know what works against it and how to counter it if it does come out.
So it's kind of drafting around that preemptively to the pick and making sure that you don't pick yourself into that counter. I mean, are you expecting this draft to be a lot based around counter picks?
Yeah, if Petal is picked on A side, Samuel is good into her, not early, but late for sure. Scarf actually counters Petal pretty well in the jungle. So if Aeon does pick Petal on the A side, then we could see Scarf coming up from Dynasty here.
And we've seen a lot of Scarf, especially in Europe as well, coming on through. I think it was Palmatoro that kind of popularized it in week 1, and it's been like ramping up in popularity and success as well. I think it's like a 65% win rate or something similar.
Yep, yeah, it's been very impressive. It's one of the top 3 win rates in all of Vainglory8. So right up there with it's like just behind the Baron by I think like 3 or 4 percentage points. So a very strong pick to be sure, but we are going to see both of those healers get taken off the board, and there's the European Arden focus. First pick onto the Arden. That confuses me even more so now with the rise of the Catherine Batiste combo. Like, it makes even less sense for me for a team to first pick an Arden.
It certainly makes sense for Mowgli to first pick that Arden. It's not something that Mowgli has exactly strayed away from in the past. I can understand why the team... Or I can understand this team picking it, but I definitely agree that in the current meta, Arden's not really had that much impact. Baron is going to sneak through in the hands of Calamity, so Leon's going to be happy with that.
It's a nice ban there from Idris. And I think Dynasty here, they definitely need to ban Cath or Batiste here. I think a Batiste ban would be good, because if they don't, they do give that Cath-Batiste combo over to Calamity if they're going to pick up Batiste here. And Batiste with Baron is a very meta composition that they need to avoid giving to a team. But they may ban away... yep, they're going to ban away that Cath. So nice job there. So that does leave Batiste open for
Batiste still
Calamity.
might come out.
But we haven't seen Aeon on Batiste. So are they going to maybe pick Petal here? Or are they going to pick... they probably pick like a Lance or something. A support so they can counter pick and last pick that jungler there into Dynasty's draft. Yep, that's the pick. Now Dynasty has to pick a melee. They need to pick either range to play against the Baron here, or the melee like a Black Feather that can get onto Baron, like a Taka, Koshka, etc. With Arden, it looks really, really good right now.
Yeah, we could even see a glaive come out. PT Lamb has an exceptional lane glaive that I wouldn't be opposed to Dynasty going for, but it definitely needs something that can get onto the Baron, whether it's glaive, Black Feather, something of that sort. I think is definitely should be in the cards, and then take something for your final pick that can deal with a Petal if it does come out. Something like the Scarf, like the Samuel.
Right.
So it is going to be Black Feather for one of them, and there's the
Scarf. There we go. And then they picked Scarf, and then now Aeon cannot play Petal. So this is a really good draft. Mowgli always does his homework. And now Calamity, they need to pick something different that we haven't seen Aeon. Aeon can't play Cruel. Maybe he might play Cruel here, but he's played Cruel, Petal, etc. But let's see what else is going to come out of his hero pool here. Maybe a Samuel? Koshka?
This is the thing, right? We've only seen 2 Vainglory8 games from Calamity Reborn, so it's still very up in the air in what might be in his pocket, his list of pocket picks. That
I think a Kroll could actually work really well here. Kroll actually does very well into a Scarf, and you have so much lockdown already, you are just going to be able to isolate either of these 2 carries on the side of Dynasty with the Krull and Lance, and Baron should be able to just blow them up freely.
He's played Koshka and Cruel, Petal, and Scarf actually, based on their drafts from Challengers. Ooh. So, and then Samuel's going to come out. So we have not seen Aeon on Samuel, so this is very interesting to see how this will work out.
Yeah, Samuel going to be the final pick here. So got that Lance as the front line, and then 2 ranged carries on the side of Calamity. And then We have obviously the kind of Scarf Arden combo coming out from Dynasty alongside that Black Feather. How are we feeling about the compositions then, gentlemen? What are the win conditions for these two teams? How does this have to go for each team to take the victory?
It's actually going to be a little bit surprising for me for Calamity with the draft that they have, because you have Baron, who's going to be wanting to just blow targets up instantly, and then Samuel kind of is more that counter engage and sustained longer fights that you're typically looking for. So I feel like they're just kind of, they built themselves a composition that can sort of deal with however Dynasty decides to play.
All right, so very dynamic composition. What are your thoughts, Suijay?
I think the drafts are pretty even. Both late game strong, Scarf and Baron. The thing with Dynasty is there's no stuns to CC Scarf except for Lance. So if Scarf gets a nice Broken Myth out, they can win the fight.
All right, so looking for that massive ultimate. That's kind of been the story of the Vainglory8 in the last couple of weeks. It's all about these ultimate combos. We'll see if it's going to come to fruition, but it's time to jump into our first semi-final. Hashtag Vainglory8 on Twitter. Let us know whether you're a fan of the new team from Challenger Calamity Reborn, or whether you want the old guard of Dynasty to take this series.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your first semi-finals here of Split 2. We have Dynasty Gaming versus Calamity Reborn, and I think this is going to be pretty exciting. I'm here with AJ himself, Mr. Jackson. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great, man. Looking forward to get these games underway. Ryu-Ren. Oh, no.
Ryu-Ren's pretty ready to get this underway as well. Dynasty Gaming sniffing that out. And maybe another captain would have gone down there, but Lance is going to be okay.
He did have to use boots, though, so that's 150-second cooldown, and you lose your front camp, and you're probably going to lose Treant as well. Very, very rough rotation here for Calamity Reborn. Ryu-Ren, I don't think you think about stealing this, because if you die, you probably didn't get the camp, let's be real. And you give away way too much. PT Lamb is actually losing some lane wave here. So that is the only saving grace, I guess, for Calamity. I like that Leon had the presence of mind to shove that wave a little bit faster than he ordinarily would. Might even be able to get some poke damage here as well. So, not the end of the world for Calamity. In fact, if you look at the total gold earned, because of the fact that Leon has a couple more creeps here, I think they are slightly ahead. Also, I guess the gold split was a little bit better. Only one person was earning gold when they were grouped as 3 from Dynasty.
True. Yeah, I think Leon's my spirit animal. He's like, I see that you're fighting in the jungle. I'll be farming up here in the lane.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Leon, he knows what he needs to do as a Baron to win the game, right? Like, Baron does not want to fight before you get one item, really. After one, you can, but again, you don't really want to chase a loss, and that's why I think Ryu-Ren made the right play by not trying to go for the steal. Can certainly feel right sometimes. If he was a Grace and he still had his boots, sure, why not? You're never gonna die. But if
you'll never be
if you're Lance and you're already low, bit riskier. Aeon's got to be careful too. Look at Dynasty's rotations; they are extremely tight so far this game. Always grouping up together to take that preamp.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think this is part and parcel of being against the Lance, the Samuel, which maybe can have a little bit of that early game power for fighting, and they want to secure that for Scarf right here. Drifting Dart from around the corner. Aeon moving in. Rikumeza already secured up that Treant, and Ryu-Ren will burn down, but Aeon may be able to secure the backs. He gets 1, he gets 2. He doesn't get out of this one too cleanly, though. Let's see, how are they going to pin this Samuel down here? Spitfire's going to miss. They're on the chase. And it looks like the laners are just watching. I'm sure they moved their cameras over. Aeon will eventually go down. Pretty clear that was going to happen.
Not a great trade for the side of Calamity Reborn. If they'd maybe traded 1 kill for both back camps, that's a different situation. But you can see off the back of that, the slight gold edge that Calamity Reborn had has now swung firmly back in Dynasty's court, as they are about 500 or 600 gold in the lead. Plus, Dynasty is doing a great job of killing the Elder Treant on spawn. They've been really, really good about that. Leon decides it's finally time to fight, though.
Yeah, Mowgli's going to do a little dipping and diving down here. Leon making that rotation down, but Dynasty are no longer there. And will be, once again, Rikumeza, just a clean rotation through his jungle. A nice rotation. He's actually going to go back to the shop, probably just fill up his energy, so he makes sure that he's ready to fight in case they do get into any skirmishes after he clears his backs. Right now, Calamity as 3 up in the lane, just slightly behind in net worth, no big deal right now. We're going to have the jungle intensifying in just a moment here. We'll see how that's going to affect the pace of the game, because it's very much been just about farming and getting that Elder Treant so far.
Yeah, PT Lamb is falling a little bit behind in lane because of how much attention Mowgli is giving the jungle, but I think overall for the team, it's fine. Like Dynasty, one of your strongest facets in the early game is just how quickly Scarf clears. So trying to make sure that he can do that safely, and trying to make sure that he can get the Elder Treant makes a lot of sense. PT Lamb is able to stay safe in lane if he's not able to necessarily pressure Leon very effectively. And in fact, he is actually slightly ahead in creeps. I think he's going to be one ahead after this minion wave hits the turret. So yeah, PT Lamb doing pretty good as well. Leon did divert his attention from the lane a little bit when he went down earlier on.
Did I ever
Calamity
tell you?
Reborn... Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, did I ever tell you I love PT Lamb? He
I think so.
forced me to say that. He forced me to say that in the chat, but I was gonna say it anyway. But PT Lamb, he should be doing okay as far as sticking to this Baron with the Scarf combination. That's like it's a bit more threatening than I think it seems on paper.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Baron is very good against very significant, like, punchy crowd control, like Merciless Pursuit. But against a sticky target, it's a lot less easy as Baron to survive. You basically survive by killing them. 90% of the time, you just lay down your mortars at your feet, hope the person dies. Baron can't get away from the Black Feather. There's no good option. And the overdrive on jump jets doesn't really do very much other than avoid a slight slow. So yeah, it's definitely a pick that I think Dynasty's going to be looking to utilize. And actually, that's where I wanted to move next in terms of points to talk about here. Compositionally, you know, Dynasty is really going to be doing a lot of work in the late game, and I think they actually have the tools to deal with the late game Baron in general. Baron has to deal with a threat at every range, right? Like, you have to deal with the very long range threat of Scarf. You also have to deal with the Black Feather sticking on top of you in close range. It's very difficult for his teammates, that is to say Ren, to pick where he needs to focus his attention. I think Aeon is going to be the bandage that the Calamity composition needs.
Absolutely.
He's going to have to try and diversify where he's attacking.
Jump jets forward from Leon.
Hit.
Fight breaks out here real quick, Jackson, as the mouse verdict coming through from Aeon. Totally agree with your point. Aeon really is going to have to pick up a bit of weight here. PT Lamb jumps right in, right back out with Pro's offensive. Couple attacks coming through. Rikameza almost going down. Leon with that Sorrow Blade. That damage is really stacking up already. And they did take a little bit of turret damage there, so maybe they're not quite feeling too comfortable about diving just yet. We'll see.
Look at the difference in fountains. So Calamity still has theirs. Dynasty does not. If they want to go in, they might be able to make it happen.
Are they getting baited? Dragon's Breath. The fountain will come out. Nice ability puts Rikameza to sleep. And it will be Baron finding the kill right there. He's going to jump jets forward. Leon looking. He takes Mowgli down inside the gauntlet. Mowgli falls down. Gauntlet will stand just for a second longer. Leon and Aeon thinking about maybe going for PT Lamb right now. They don't have aggro from the turret, so they're just going to do the damage that they need to jump jets forward. PT Lamb getting lit up right back onto the turret. And I felt like maybe Leon could have gone for that, but no harm, no foul. PT Lamb gets out of there, but a huge win for Calamity.
That Oblivion from Aeon is funny, actually. It was almost premonition. We were just talking about how Aeon really needs to bandage up some of the problems that the Calamity comp might have against Dynasty. He did exactly that. Great Oblivion, but Leon...
Oh no! Rikameza just took him down. A perfect combo.
Yeah, really nice stuff there. Leon did not bail quickly enough. I think maybe he was entertaining the idea that trying to get some more farm made sense. Right now, though, turret can be picked up by Dynasty. I don't see Aeon really dissuading them. In fact, he cannot. So Dynasty bounced back very nicely. We're dead even in gold. This is probably a slight advantage given to Dynasty, though, just given the fact that they currently have the momentum on the map. Mowgli's starting to move up. Might be able to get some vision down.
Yeah, vision's going to be a big deal, especially when we talk about these teams that are very evenly matched up. A lot of times, there's just elements of surprise can win you a fight. We'll see Ren, I think, done a great job to secure at least his middle half of the map with scout traps.
Calamity Reborn do not look quite as dominant as they did yesterday, Humanist. It's kind of interesting to see Dynasty here playing, I would say, very tight-knit as a team. That's the big edge I'm seeing them have. I feel like Calamity this game has not been quite that coherent or cohesive as a unit. But certainly as we head into the later stages of the game and it's more about team fighting and you're going to be with your team anyway, it wouldn't be surprising to me to see that shift a little bit. Because Calamity looked fantastic in team fights yesterday. Talking about the items real quick, though, it is worth noting Aeon just picked up a huge spike in the form of that Eve of Harvest. He does not have a ton of flat damage or pierce yet. He's got Frostburn Eve, but this utility is going to help Leon a lot.
Gauntlet down, 2 stunned up. Dragon's Breath's going to be coming through. Ion Cannon very defensively placed. A Rose offensive forward, but they've lost Rikamez on the backside. They traded Leon's down. Samuel in the Drifting Dark hiding back. It's timed out. Aeon gets hit with the on point as Mowgli jumps forward. Ren wants to buy some time, protect his ally, but you cannot do so when this Blackfeather just has the execution power. Look at this. He's level 8, on point, overdriven. They slap him around, can't buy enough time. That's the level 8 weapon infusion as well, paying huge dividends here for Dynasty.
Man, that was almost a getaway from Ren. I really like that he tried to knock them back into the root after aggroing the Treant over the wall. Smart play, didn't quite pan out. The biggest issue there for the side of Calamity, though, is that they actually gave away an ace moments before Leon spawned. That means the wave shoves up. They have no worry about just going and picking up the gold mine. Really, really nice stuff there. That was a brutal fight for Calamity. It began looking quite good. You know, they comboed off a lot of their abilities to burst down Rikameza quite quickly. But at this point, Rikameza only needs to soften up targets for PT Lamb, who has gone for the earlier game build of Tension Bow Poison Shiv, rather than, you know, the historic super late game Serpent's Mask Breaking Point that maybe you would have seen on Blackfeather an update or two ago. As a result, if PT Lamb is the threat who lives out of the 2 threats for Dynasty, they're in a good spot pretty much no matter the situation. You know, with double threat comp against double threat comp, the damage is there that you're expecting one person to die very quickly. The best chance that Calamity has, honestly, is probably if Aeon survives. Sure, Leon has a lot of damage, but he doesn't really have any ability to survive the one-on-one, whereas Aeon does. That was a best case situation. Didn't go very well, though.
Well, it's a jump in and the gauntlet down. It's not quite catching Leon, but it does have his allies. Blackfeather to the backside. Leon trading with PT Lamb. PT Lamb finds the kill. Once again, it's Aeon and Ren, but this time Rikamez is not down. A couple BM stacks for himself there, throwing the Spitfire. He almost dies to the Scout Trap. Look at that. And another ace coming through. Dynasty have just turned this up. Devastating damage output potential with this dual threat combo that you're talking about. And it does feel very different from a lot of Baron games where you feel like, okay, well, yeah, Baron can jump in, just delete a target. But if he's jumped in and deleted a target, he leaves himself completely vulnerable.
Yeah, this is exactly what we were talking about earlier on, actually, Humanist. We were talking about the different threat positions in Dynasty's lineup, the long-range threat, the close-range threat. Ren has consistently been playing with Aeon quite far forwards, right? They're worried about Rikameza. That's fair. He's strong. But see PT Lamb just instantaneously be like, all right, well, I'm going to go on Leon. And as we said, Leon, you know, intrinsically on Baron does not have a good matchup in Blackfeather, cannot really deal with him. It's becoming a huge problem, actually. And I think that maybe the focus just needs to shift here. Calamity needs to play the kite game, need to play the longer fights, need to just get edge in damage when they can with Leon, rather than trying to really focus on what he normally brings to the table, which is upfront burst, right?
Especially with Aeon's build of like the Frostburn Eve of Harvest. That's not a burst you down build.
Yeah, he doesn't pair nicely with what Leon has, you know, unless he's setting up targets and sort of whittling them down for Leon to then execute, which is just not the way these... I mean, Calamity is not tactically or strategically playing to their composition here. They are simply trying to pressure Dynasty into making a mistake, and that, you know, I think Dynasty's proven they're not going to very easily here.
Well, sometimes, you know, we see super clean rotations, maybe off the backside of Mowgli making these shot calls. Sometimes one wrong call can turn it around. That's going to be Gauntlet down. Mowgli kind of low. They are kiting backwards like we were talking about. Ren just stunned up for about 3 years on the side of that Gauntlet. PT Lamb dropping low, but Leon drops just as fast. And now it's Aeon trying to catch up to his Drifting Dark. It's too fast. Rikameza burning him down, and Aeon one more blood for blood potentially. Well, they'll be able to take him down in just a matter of time here. How about a Spitfire to close the deal? Another ace? Is that the 3rd ace for Dynasty this game?
I think maybe even the 4th. It's certainly been a lot of aces. They'd be happy if that was their poker hand. This is definitely a really rough spot for Calamity. Let's break that fight down a little bit, though. We actually saw Leon get in a lot of damage up front, but like we were just talking about, that doesn't really do enough. I mean, Blackfeather A has Serpent's Mass Poison Chip. He's going to sustain back, so long as he doesn't immediately die. Secondly, there's a fountain. Thirdly, there is no follow-up, and Aeon actually got stunned by the Gauntlet, even though he has a reflex block. So that was really poor positioning from Aeon. He is the critical piece, in my opinion, to this composition. He needs to be in the right position in order to actually let Leon play his role this game. It's not going well for Calamity, and things are slowly snowballing out of control. Once this game gets late enough, it's very difficult to deal with Blackfeather Scarf.
It really is. Now, we do see the second Tyrant's Monocle picked up here. We'll see what the impact is for Leon on this Baron. But it's on the other side, it's for PT Lamb Jackson. When that breaking point came together and they were already finding success in these fights, I feel like breaking point just kind of seals the deal.
Oh, absolutely, because PT Lamb, he's already shown that he's not going to die straight away. So going to the breaking point is definitely going to get you a lot of work done. I think Leon, at this point, is so committed to just dealing damage up front that I'd like to see Aeon maybe even swap up where he's been going and just get a Shatter Glass. I'd like to see Calamity Reborn and try and patch this up by just, augmenting what they can do with where they are. Ryu Ren actually picked up an Echo. That's kind of interesting on a Lance. That's a good pickup, but if you're paired with Leon. Like, if you're diving, I think that really doesn't do anything. But if you're protecting Leon, and you Githian Wall, PT Lamb, Rose Offensives, you Githian Wall again, maybe you finally get Blackfeather off of your carry. Maybe.
Yeah.
But, Ryu Ren's not been playing that. He's been going very aggressive.
PT Lamb getting blown up, 2 Tyrants Monocle doing work, Ion Cannon very defensive, Aeon trying to get in front of his ally, but it's too late. Leon's down. Let's see, Aeon, what can he do? He runs into the wall of the Gauntlet one more time. This Gauntlet has been devastating this game. I mean, okay, Dynasty Gaming, yeah, they're styling on Calamity Reborn right now, which I didn't really expect. I didn't expect Calamity to just smoke Dynasty, but I honestly thought they'd be coming out on top. For me, though, I gotta give credit to Mowgli. I feel like he's been setting up every one of these fights with just a really clean gauntlet.
His gauntlets have been fantastic, but by the same token, what is Aeon doing? He keeps walking into the gauntlet walls, he keeps not reflecting. That fight, I think he'd already used it, but previous fights, he's not reflex blocking. It makes Mowgli's life pretty easy when that kind of stuff is happening. That being said, I still think that this is maybe a game that has gone too far here for Calamity. Sure, Baron's great late, sure, Samuel's great late, but Blackfeather, Scarf, they're the OGs of late game. Also, look at the positions that Calamity are choosing to take fights in. They chose that position to fight. They did not need to go there. Excuse me.
True.
They went to the choke point where Dragon's Breath can be most effective, and they do not have a lot of easily landable, hard-locking crowd control to interrupt that from Rikumeza, which is another reason why, just compositionally, Dynasty is so well set up for the late game. This could be a game-winning push. They do have a lot of damage for the Kraken, though.
Oh, I cursed him! I cursed him! The Gauntlet doesn't catch anybody. Calamity, all right, here is the defense. Calamity Reborn, what can you do? A bit of damage coming out here. Mowgli starting to get melted down. PT Lamb being chunked down. Look at the big crits. 375, 375 coming through. Leon, you ready to jump, or are they going to go back to Kraken? Looks like they want Mowgli, and they'll find that second kill and go to the Kraken, which should leave the last Vein Crystal turret remaining on just a sliver of health. No, dang, it's going to take it down. No! I was correct. Okay. They're still in it.
So that was the Echo from Ryu Ren doing a lot of work, actually. I think PT Lamb would have been able to Rose Offensive over the wall had the Githian Wall not came out twice chained together. So quite nice there. What can Calamity do off the back of this? Probably pretty little. I mean, they can take their jungle, but there's no Kraken on the board. Obviously, there's no Treant this late in the game. Objective-wise, it's very difficult for them to find anything. I'd like to see them just get the position. Ryu Ren picking up flares. I would have gone for scout traps, went forward, dropped them, and then went back and picked the flares. That I think, you've got space to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's one of those strategical things. I think sometimes you can kind of short circuit in the moment thinking, oh, I need to make sure I have that. This is what we've been needing. But it's like, what do we need in this moment? Should be okay for them. The flares will at least secure their knowledge of where the scout traps are for their opponents, and they see the scout trap here in the brush as they move forward. There's no surprises. They'll be able to clear that out. And let's see what Calamity Reborn are going to do as they begin to kind of put a little pressure on Dynasty. And of course they have the damage output potential. Net worth that's not too far apart. It's just Dynasty out of their number. Okay, there's the gauntlet. A jump jets out. They turn it around. Aeon is the focus. Can he kite backwards? He's melting down. They lost Aeon first this time. They'll lose Leon second. And it looks like Dynasty Gaming won't lose anybody as they do come through with another ace. I don't know how if you could have this many aces in one hand of poker. And they're going to come through, just clean this up. A dominating, devastating performance here in Game 1.
You know, truly, Mowgli. Truly, I don't want to take any credit away from Mowgli for these amazing gauntlets, but Aeon did not show up to play today. He has been hit by basically every single gauntlet in this game.
Dude, because I tweeted at him last night, and I was like, dude, you've been playing really good. I'm super impressed. Keep it up.
This can't happen. He's such a critical piece. He was down to 20% before that fight even began. Calamity Reborn really not looking like they did yesterday in that game. Maybe they just need a warm-up. Maybe they just need to sort of band together and bounce back after that game. We'll see if they can. Dynasty look fantastic, though, Humanist.
Yeah, Dynasty looked amazing, really, really clean. I know Calamity has the potential to come back in Game 2, but Dynasty, if they keep it up like this, is going to be incredibly hard. Let's go ahead and throw it back over to our desk, though, for our boys to break this one down.
This game was an absolute calamity for the new Challenger squad, and, well, Dynasty looking amazing and now on all three of their players. Excellent play. The gauntlets, I feel like, have to be a focus of the talking points, because Mowgli, I mean, I feel like this team lives and dies by Mowgli. Like, if Mowgli plays on point, the team is always on point, but sometimes that doesn't happen. This game absolutely did.
Yeah, every fight they won was when Mowgli landed a great gauntlet. The only fight they lost was at Kraken, where he just whiffed the gauntlet and didn't get anybody, and that's the fight they lost. And like I said, they did not have anything to answer the Scarf Ultimate. You know, they did not stop the Scarf Ultimate, and he got so much value. The Scarf Ultimate hit 3 people and etc. And that's what really helped them win the game, was those Gauntlet and Scarf Ultimate engages. It was amazing play by Dynasty here.
Yeah, really, really solid job all around. And like AJ was pointing out, Aeon really kind of fell flat a little bit in this one. Multiple times going right into a Gauntlet wall while still having a reflex block available. There's nothing else to reflex block aside from the gauntlet, so I don't know why it wasn't being used to get out of that big ultimate, because it was such a decisive and game-changing ability.
Yeah, and then one thing too is, like, Lance Rearend should have got a reflex block. Like, he cannot stay in the gauntlet. Like, once he does, Scarf and Blackfeather can focus him down, and he's not the most tanky. I mean, Lance is tanky, but if you have a Scarf and a Blackfeather focusing you, then that's a lot of damage that you cannot sustain. So he definitely needed a reflex block. They needed to counter the gauntlet engages, and they needed to back off when Scarf is ulting. I mean, he channels the ult. It's obvious when he's going to ult. You need to War Treads out, Crucible. Whatever you need to do is avoid that ultimate, but they kept playing into Dynasty's win condition, and Dynasty just executed their win condition really, really well.
Yeah, and it felt like they were kind of waiting for this Baron to come online towards the end of the game, but we got to the end of the game, Baron was full build, and it still wasn't enough to win those fights. And every single fight, you saw PT Lam jumping onto Leon and making sure that Leon wasn't able to just freely dish out damage.
Yeah, and another issue with this composition was the fact that, Baron, yes, he's online. This is going to be the one fight that they did win, but the Baron does a lot of burst damage. But then Scarf and Blackfeather, whichever one gets bursted, isn't getting finished off and is able to then use their lifesteal, whether through the Poison Shiv or the Eve of Harvest, to get themselves just alive enough to be able to stick around in the fight and dish out even more damage. And so the Samuel pick, I think, was really something that has to be questioned here.
Yeah, I think the Samuel, it could have worked, but it's definitely tough against a Scarf and an Arden. What they should have done is play through their win condition, is use a Drifting Dark engage and have Baron poke, or if they're getting dived on, Drifting Dark backwards and then kite with the Baron. But they never did that as a team, and the Gauntlet always caught them out. And that's why you need to prioritize early blocks to get out of the Gauntlet, or get a War Tread to cancel the Scarf. When Scarf's ulting, you can just War Tread their entire team out of it. Like, they needed to cancel the win condition of Dynasty, and they could have had a chance here.
Well, we questioned the Arden first pick when it came through in the draft, but it was an absolute linchpin of the Dynasty composition in this game. What do you change if you're Calamity coming into this next game? Because it felt like towards the start of the draft, it was going really well. I mean, they got Baron as their first pick, which is always going to be great. And it felt like it was going to go a lot better than it actually ended up going.
It's a lot of it's just the in-game execution. You're using reflex blocks against the one ability that you need to reflex block and get out of it. Like when the gauntlet goes down, like Suji was saying, you can just disengage. The Scarf's not going to be able to chase and follow you without using his ultimate. And the Black Feather, if he tries to chase and follow you, you can then isolate him. And if Arden tries to follow you, the gauntlet's going to go down. Instead, what they were constantly doing was they would get out of the gauntlet and then try and go back into the gauntlet to try and continue a fight that they had just started. And that's not the way you play around an Arden Gauntlet. It's just simply the poor execution around that ultimate.
Okay, what do you expect to change coming into this game then, Suijay? Do you think that they'll go for something that can deal with the kind of hard engage of an Arden a little bit better? Do they remove the Arden?
Yeah, I think Baron's fine. They need to protect the Leon. Like, they need to kite with Leon, and whenever Leon is separated and Blackfeather 1v1s him, Baron can't do much against Blackfeather 1v1. They needed to stick with Blackfeather, protect Leon, and get away from the Scarf.
All right, we'll see if they're going to be able to make that happen. Calamity Reborn coming into the Vainglory8 with a whole lot of hype behind them, but now 1-0 down against Dynasty. Dynasty with 3 wins so far this week. Looking like it might be one of their stronger weeks once again. Idris going to be the first ban of the draft.
Yeah, Idris being taken off the board means Calamity, again, can look for a Baron if it gets through, which it will because Dynasty takes the Grace away. So they are going to go ahead and first pick that Baron. It makes a lot of sense, again, if you get the Idris off the board and you have the opportunity to go for the Baron, it's such a strong pick. Idris is the best counter into it. There are things that do work into it, obviously, but it's a pretty safe first pick as long as you can take that Idris away.
Yeah, I think Dynasty is probably will first pick that Arden or take Blackfeather immediately and then leave Arden and Lyra open. But look, since Idris is banned, I think most likely they will probably first pick that Blackfeather. Otherwise, it will be banned against them. However, they can also be a little clever with the draft too and pick, for example, Baptiste and Kath. And then if they don't ban Baptiste or Kath, they can get both. But they're going to go ahead and pick the Arden first, which then leaves Blackfeather open for a ban from Calamity's side. So Calamity will most likely ban Blackfeather here. And of course, they take away the Lyra because they picked Arden here.
Yeah, Calamity, like I said, Blackfeather definitely makes sense for a ban, but then Dynasty has to be careful. If they don't take the Baptiste themselves, it could open up the Catherine Baptiste for Calamity to pick up. I think you mentioned it's something we haven't really seen Aeon play just yet, but we haven't seen them play a whole lot of games in general. So I think it is still very much a possibility for Calamity to go for. So it's going to be important to see if Dynasty are going to either take away one of those pieces or pick up something that they feel can work well into it.
Yeah, since Blackfeather Idris is taken, they may just opt for the Glaive here, honestly, and that's something that PT Land plays extremely well. Or they can go for potentially a Vox, but they definitely need to win the early game here. But Baptiste and Kath are open, and that's they may give that composition over to Calamity, like you said, Bacon. So they may opt for taking the Baptiste here, but Baptiste isn't good into a Baron. So now Baptiste and Kath are open. It's gonna counter the Glaive completely. Melee is not good into a Baptiste and Kath. The Baron's gonna be well protected. So this is going to be a very tricky situation if Calamity decides to take this draft. I don't know if Aeon plays Baptiste. We have not seen him play Baptiste.
That's always going to be one of the questions with the newer teams is like, what is actually in the hero pool of these guys? Like, can they play this composition? The Catherine's locked in.
Yep.
Looks like they are going that way. We've got that Silence duo coming on through alongside a Baron. We've seen this exact composition yesterday, and it was devastating.
Yeah, so now Dynasty, they need to outrange. They need to play like Scarf again. They need to play maybe Sky if they want to, but that's risky against a Baron, so Scarf is going to be picked up here. They do have a chance if Scarf pokes, but there's so much CC. Now they're going to cancel this Scarf ultimate like easily now.
It's going to be a lot about trying to hold that Scarf ultimate potentially and make sure that you can use that either after the silences or, play around that correctly and maybe use a Crucible correctly as well.
Yeah, the main thing is to use the Crucible on the Fearsome Shade and either wait for the silence or use the Scarf ultimate before the silence connects, because once you start channeling it, the silence doesn't stop the Scarf ultimate. It still goes through. The only thing that will stop it is that Fearsome Shade.
All right, we'll see if they can actually get and like Scarf versus Batiste is a matchup we've seen quite a lot, especially in Europe, and like it's all about whether or not the Fearsome Shade is going to block the Scarf ultimate, and you often see both of them holding on to those ultimates until like until the other has actually used theirs.
Yeah, but when Kath gets Echo, she can Echo her stun. So I think Calamity wins this hands down.
All right, well, we've got confidence in the Catherine Batiste combo. We'll see if Mowgli and the squad of Dynasty have what it takes to take it down. Hashtag Vainglory8 on Twitter. Let us know who you want to take this game. Is it going to go to 3 games? It's time to find out as we head to the Halcyon Fold and jump on into Game 2 between Dynasty and Calamity Reborn.
Well, this surely should be a very good game. Calamity have a little bit stronger of a draft here. The Batiste plus the Baron and the Catherine. We've seen people talking about this combo quite a bit. We've seen the success of this combination of draft picks here as well. Now, Jackson, do you think Calamity have a little better chance based off of what we just see in the draft here?
I think the draft for them is great. I also think there are elements of the Dynasty draft I'm not psyched about. Like, I think the Glaive, I don't know, it could work, but I'm not that optimistic for it for a few reasons. I'll get into those later on. What I will say, though, is that Dynasty has a composition that, as Europeans, they are very familiar with. This was probably the most popular composition when I started casting Vainglory like 2 years ago. So it's definitely familiarity and comfort for Dynasty. We'll see if they can make it work. This rotation that we've seen a number of teams doing with the Scarf is kind of intriguing to me too, where they have 3 people matched up early on. I'm trying to decide whether it's because Glaive is vulnerable to Baron and lane at level 1, or if it's because they think Scarf is vulnerable to jungle pressure early and they want to get Elder Treants. Maybe it's both. Maybe it's 2 birds, 1 stone, but they have hit quite an early level 2 here with Rikumeza.
Yeah, they have a nice early level 2. I would lean probably towards Scarf. Or Dane comes out, stun onto the Scarf. They try to follow. Rikumeza is going to use boots to get back there. It's going to be a very long cooldown, 140 seconds before he can use those boots again, which should make the next few jungle rotations pretty interesting.
Yeah, not having boots against the Catherine and Batiste is a little sketchy. We'll see if Calamity tries to capitalize on that cooldown. They do have some options if they want to, although Mowgli on the Arden is one of the better heroes for helping defend someone from your opponents. Wonder if he'd pick up like a slightly delayed Protector contract. Not the worst idea in the world. We'll see. They are going to be getting another Elder Treant, though. Dynasty Gaming have been doing a great job across both games of basically getting this every single time it's off cooldown. So very, very strong stuff. I think Calamity has the option of going kind of aggressive somewhere, and they should take it. We know what happens when Rikumeza hits a late game.
Well, it appears to have that aggression right in the lane, but PT Lamb just a little too far under that tier 1 turret for Calamity to feel comfortable on the dive. Plus Mowgli here now, they'll have to rethink any aggression that was being planned.
Alright, Calamity, time in their backs here to spend this money. What's Leon going to go for? Looks like he's going for the Starblade first, rather than a Tension Bow. I actually like that. I don't think that Tension Bow is required. They're going to have plenty of burst damage, bring up Starblade with Aeon getting a Shatterglass. Again, though, like, there's no punishment for Dynasty trying to take this Treant every single spawn. I think that's a big misstep by Calamity. It's starting to snowball the gold a little bit, 400 in the lead for Dynasty. Yeah, that's pretty much coming exclusively from how effectively they're doing the jungle right now.
Yeah, they've been getting a lot. What's kind of confusing to me is Aeon's leveling a little bit better than Rikumeza. I think maybe that's because he was having some solo rotations through the jungle. But
yeah, I think that could be a big part of it. Leon as well is doing a pretty good job of constantly shoving PT Lamb in, and Glaive is not the hero with the easiest farm under turret. So I actually like that Dynasty rotated up here, just to give him some space. Helps PT Lamb get all the farm that he's looking for.
I wonder at what point they're gonna actually like pull the trigger and make something happen with this Glaive. Obviously, like your power spikes don't completely synergize between the Glaive and the Scarf necessarily, but I mean you can still make things happen.
They definitely don't, but it does somewhat depend on how you use Glaive. Because yeah, he spikes very aggressively early on with a lot of weapon power, but in the later stages of the game, if someone commits to Rikumeza and Glaive just afterburns on that target and bursts them, it makes Rikumeza's life pretty easy for finishing off the kill, or if he's already softened someone up, Glaive can really be the executioner. So compositionally, he has utility in parity with Scarf late game, but in a vacuum, he does spike at a very different time. That is definitely true.
I think that just like, and your analysis is pretty much spot on, but it makes me very curious, like as far as this itemization, you know, is he going to itemize in a way where he can totally take advantage of that style of play? Because it definitely puts more of the onus on what Calamity Reborn are doing. Are they engaging onto Rikumeza for what PT Lamb's going to ultimately be doing in and around these fights?
I think based on the last game, just as a team, I would expect Calamity Reborn to be the initiators, even if they shouldn't be, because that's what was happening.
And that was what makes them fun to watch.
Absolutely, right? Like, but it definitely was a bit of a mistake last game. Oh boy.
Oh, Rikumeza stunned up and chopped down. They throw the Fearsome Shade just to make sure nobody can follow up. Can't believe it. They had Fearsome Shade before we even had First Blood out on the map, but First Blood going the way of Calamity, a nice clean engage.
Yeah, really nice stuff there. The Fearsome Shade doing a lot of work too. They want more.
Jump jets, they're on to Glaive. Glaive stunned up. Can they find him? Oh, PT Lamb just barely getting out of there. You can thank Mowgli for the Vanguard later. And you see the minion candy out right here. This is another thing Mowgli was doing last game, balancing these waves out with the minion candy, doing a good job. Dragon's Breath wound up. Rio Rin thinking about Merciless Pursuit, but he's going to dip back the other way. Probably a smart call. And Calamity playing a little bit more cautiously than game one. 6 minutes in, they're up 1-0. Just a very minute overall net worth advantage as well.
You know, they are playing a little bit more cautiously, but I think they can afford to make the plays that they're doing and maybe even a little bit more. They have so much damage between Aeon and Leon, with Starblade and Shatterglass now picked up. Really the main items there. Oh, there we go.
The gauntlet down. Are you serious? You want to fight under that turret right now? Mowgli making the call, and it goes the other way with PT Lamb melted down to start. No fountain here. Rikumeza is just sitting on a Frostburn, not a huge threat. We'll see what Calamity look to do. It's a pretty short respawn timer, so we should see PT Lamb getting back out into the lane rather quickly. Calamity in the driver's seat at this point. They can really choose if they want to take away some jungle, they want to put some damage out on this turret, they're going to hang around in the lane. That's going to be ordained down onto Rikumeza and a jump forward. They just blow that dragon up. And now it's Mowgli and PT Lamb in a 3 vs 2. Fearsome Shade blocked off onto PT Lamb. They lose Leon. A little bit surprising that Leon actually goes down there.
This is a very different game than last game. It's also a very different, like Calamity Reborn from yesterday and in Dynasty. I feel like there's some pretty weird things happening. Mowgli's play there to kick that chain of events off is definitely a head scratcher. PT Lamb does not yet have the damage he needs to make that play. I think that he maybe needs one more item to really go for it. Right now, though, things are pretty even between the two teams. I'd say that anytime you're even in the sort of the 10-minute mark-ish area with a Scarf, you're in a good spot. Although I do think compositionally, Calamity has a much better shot in the late game than they did last time around. See if they can make it happen. Item spikes-wise, I do want to touch on the fact that now we've got a Tension Bow on Leon. He's gone for a very bursty build. That should be able to take down either Glaive or Rikumeza pretty easily, because PT Lamb has really tunneled onto the weapon here. You know, he's not going for shield. He's not going for like an Atlas to shut down Leon. He is pretty much just going for damage, which, you know, it can be hard to use if Mowgli doesn't find a good gauntlet.
And it looks like he's also going for a little bit of sustain, which I find interesting. Especially when we're talking about maybe his main job in these fights might be to do a bit of peeling and damage at the point that they go into Rikumeza. That's not how they fought the last fight. It was very engage heavy. PT Lamb offensively afterburning, and jump jets will connect. A defensive afterburn in the Vanguard gets PT Lamb out of trouble. You see Calamity sensing their opponents were in a vulnerable position, and Dynasty voluntarily put themselves forward in the lane. Another minion candy will come out. Mowgli looks to just stall out the pressure coming from Calamity. Mowgli with the gauntlet forward. They've trapped out Aeon here, but it's Rikumez on the backside getting funneled down. PT Lamb trying to do the work. He's getting melted by Aeon. Rikumez's Dragon Breath is just kind of burning out the ocean on the top side of the map here as he can't really commit into the fight. Moving forward, Leon jump jets forward, looking for a target, just a little bit short of the range that he needs. Mowgli with the blood for blood. He's going to get slapped, self Vanguard, and a stun. Riren finding that merciless pursuit. Just another stack of that captain of the guard for him. And, you know, no one's going to go down at the end of it. Once again, Calamity just kind of poking and prodding, looking for that weakness in Dynasty.
You know, it's honestly impressive that they're not finding more of that weakness, though, given the fact that they are a team that spikes much earlier overall. You know, Rikumeza is pretty urgently in need of an Eve of Harvest to make these fights happen. He's not that close yet. There was no kill there. No turret picked up from Calamity. I think some of it was split focus. Rikumeza was a very heavy focus for both Leon and Ryuren, whereas Aeon nearly killed PT Lamb by himself.
Yeah.
With better focus fire there, I do think Calamity walks away with a kill. By getting a kill, they probably get the turret. So this is kind of interesting. I wasn't expecting in team fights for Calamity to have any issues in syncing up. He's got to be careful.
With the Ordained, he'll get stunned up as he afterburns away, but he's far enough away from the jaws of Leon and Aeon that he's going to be all right in this moment. Well, it looks like once again though, Jackson, Calamity kind of preparing for another soft push. Jump jets forward. That's a Noise gauntlet coming out here. I didn't actually even see that. He was item silenced and they take Rikumeza down because of it. Another jump jets and Mowgli goes down. That was a surprise no wave coming from Ryuren.
So a couple of things to break down there. For a start, great chaining of the crowd control from Calamity. That's much more what I was expecting from them when I was talking about their synergy in team fights. Also, yeah, the item silence was pretty big. Ryuren with that early null wave doing a lot of work against Mowgli. It is preemptive as well. It kind of says, all right, you want to buy an Echo, well, how effective is that really going to be? You know, if you go for your gauntlet and then you get null waved,
Payout
kind of have to echo like a Vanguard or something. And that's not a situation you want to be in. Your abilities to be effective. But then also, you know, PT Lamb, strategically, what was he doing? You know, going for those camps. He didn't even fully clear the jungle as Leon picks up a front treant there.
That's a desperation move, man. That's like, I'm not getting anything off the map. If I don't go do this right now, what can I do?
This is the fallacy, though, because Dynasty is not desperate right now. Like, they can afford to just sit back and maybe lose a little bit on the map. It's not the end of the world. Whoa!
Rikumeza getting burst down from the Blaster Mare actually maybe getting blocked off there, but it's that splash damage coming from Leon, bursting them down. Null Wave's going to come through on the backside after Gauntlet cast here. And Mowgli left scratching his head like, what is actually happening here, team? I felt like maybe maybe we had an opportunity. I have a huge cooldown now, 100-second cooldown on that gauntlet. PT Lamb has the Vanguard. He's on the front line for his team. Fairly tanky. Now in that group, the Dragon Sword can come out. Ryuren very far back. Ryuren melted down. PT Lamb though, he'll get blown up. Leon jumps forward. The jump jet's almost taking Rikumez out. He'll take Mowgli down though. A lot of firepower coming out of this Baron at the moment.
Honestly, though, Aeon is my hero with these fearsome shades. He's trying to make up for some lost face, I think, from last game. Doing so much work there, consistently hitting bare minimum 2 people, quite frequently 3. When you have this many things you want to crucible on the enemy's team, it's pretty difficult to know which one to go for. And honestly, the fact that Aeon is not trying to stagger and umbo, but rather stagger around cooldowns that Dynasty have, is really smart. You know, that's a clever adaptation to the play that you normally want to be making as a Baptiste. Dynasty, they're not out of this game, but definitely Calamity have a solid lead right now. Rikumeza needs to hit a third tier 3 item because he's actually gone for Broken Myth, and I think, sure, you do need to do good damage here, but Eve of Harvest would give you the windows to keep laying down more rotations. I don't think you need every rotation to deal even 20% more damage when you could just be laying down like 3 or 4 more total with an Eve of Harvest. But there you go. That's going to be the plan from Rikumeza.
He, obviously, I think you make a good point, but he picks up that Crystal Infusion instead of going deeper into the Eve of Harvest. build. Eventually, we assume that will come out, but he's making the case right here, right now, that he doesn't feel like he can actually wait to pick that item up.
I mean, by going for a Crystal Infusion, you're doubling down. You're saying, all right, this amplifies even the Crystal Infusion. I'm going to do a lot of work. You gotta be careful.
They tried to turn it. The Gauntlet Rikameza stunned up on the backside. Dragon's Breath burning down. It's not enough. Leon, they traded 1-for-1 rear end trying to frontline on this team. PT Lamb thinking about running. The Ordained stuns him up. Aeon, can he get the bad mojo? He's empowered at the end of this. This is PT Lamb over the top. PT Lamb gets it. Dynasty Gaming turning this around. You said they are not out of this one just yet, and I think they've proven that right here. What a gutsy call from Dynasty. When you see Calamity engaging on you to say, you know what? Nah, we're engaging on you right now.
The sort of thin line that Dynasty walked there was pretty crazy. I do think that there was a huge misplay from Ryu Ren there. He decided to run from the fight when a basic attack would have actually killed PT Lamb. Not to mention, he actually allowed for PT Lamb to walk away because of Ryu Ren's retreat and reset the minion aggro, which normally that's not something I would ever point out, but the minions were attacking PT Lamb and they nearly killed him. They would have had he been forced to not untether them by being able to get back there. So yeah, overall, great ballsy play by Dynasty. They needed to do something, but at the same time, some edges given away there by Calamity. It's pretty crazy that Rikameza didn't die, given the way that he used his reflex block. I don't dislike saving it for Fearsome Shade, but maybe Mowgli could, you know, give him that Crucible a little bit earlier on.
Give him that sweet, sweet Crucible. The thing is, Jackson, man, I love the synergy of the Null Wave Gauntlet with this specific combo of Catherine and the Batiste. Because there's so much that you're thinking about blocking. You've been talking about it in your analysis. Like, you've got to block the Fearsome Shade, you have Ordained, the Merciless Pursuit, Blast Tremor, and that Null Wave Gauntlet can just screw up your whole rotation of how you plan on blocking those abilities. Null Wave comes through, Leon, couple of attacks, take Rikameza down below half health right here. Serious damage output coming out of this Baron at this point.
Really, the best thing for Calamity Reborn to do right now, just sidetracking for a second, is just to keep the pressure on. Every time they push the wave this close to the base, they're making it very scary for the jungle camps to be taken by Dynasty, and Rikameza needs every single coin of gold he can get right now. He needs Eve. I can't understate that, or overstate that rather at all. He really does. You see these fights where Leon, by himself, is able to move up and chunk Rikameza to half. What you need to be able to do off the back of that is turn, throw a Spitfire, and heal 10% of your health. You've got to be able to get something back, right? There's just too much done at that point for you to not have some way of getting some health back. It's really, really rough for Dynasty, though. They need to find some kind of opening here. Kraken is on the map now. Any play that goes wrong is going to get punished very heavily. I'd like to see Calamity keep the pressure going here. They need to, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's really tough. If you're Dynasty at this point, Calamity bearing down on you. Enrique Meza, he picked up his second infusion before. All he did, he upgraded his battery, right? So he's slowly progressing towards that item. We'll see if he can get himself there. But this is Calamity as a unit moving up from the bottom right tri-brush. They're going to throw some damage out into this bush. They ignite the goop down. They're taking a bit of damage. Dragon's Breath coming down. They can't hold off the gauntlet. Oh no, that's not what you wanted in Fearsome Shade. Not enough though. They've taken Ryu Rin down. I didn't see that play actually happening there. Leon, he jumps in. He wants to fight. I'm not sure that's the play, man. Aeon, he's left for dead here. You get one big bad mojo to take the dragon down, but leaves PT Lamb and Mowgli standing for the ace. Questionable decisions in the end. This is a big win for Dynasty.
It really is, and man, the gauntlet getting canceled off there, like you're saying, huge. Kraken going to be taken off the back of this. Dynasty could not have asked for a better fight. Humanist, I thought this was Calamity's game, you know, from draft to an extent, but also looking at the mid-game, they just seemed like they had a very convincing lead. They've not been executing on it perfectly. They've been giving away small windows. And when you talk about the best players in the game, one of the characteristics they all share is, you know, even if they're behind, they look for that one window back in and how they can exploit it. And Dynasty's done a great job. They really have. PT Lamb and Mowgli especially, I want to give credit to for picking fights off the back of, you know, trades that they just barely win. It takes so much cojones to know, or at least to think, to make the decision to go in when it's such a fine line that you're walking between winning and losing the fights. I mean, you saw PT Lamb live on, I think it was literally like 10 health earlier. Having the wherewithal to go for that is very difficult in the heat of them.
Blast Trimmer blocked off. Leon jumps forward, jump jets, hitting Mowgli. That's not the target he wants, but that's the target that he found. As Calamity trying to take down Kraken, should be able to do so. I'm not sure Dynasty hang around. Well, they're thinking about it.
If they were to hang around, it would have been because they thought one Spitfire would kill the turret. There's no other reason for them to. It's misleading, right? If you block something like a Blast Tremor, a lot of team compositions want to go in off the back of that. Because it's just such a massive ultimate, such a massive cooldown that you've dealt with. But you've got to remember that Fearsome Shade is still on the board, and Null Wave Gauntlet. There's still a lot of interruptive abilities on Calamity Reborn. So just blocking a Blast Tremor is really only enough to be able to stay in like threat going in and allow Kraken to take the turn.
Yeah, it's such a tough position to be in. I'm not really jealous. Well, the crowd control they have to block off this game. One thing I'm going to keep my eyes on here, AJ, though, is the Echo out on Mowgli. I want to see those delicious double gauntlets coming down here shortly. If he doesn't get silenced up, stunned up in place here. See, this is an interesting position. One gauntlet down. This is going to be the on-cannon coming right down on top of PT Lamb. Mowgli, he throws out the fountain. It is Leon to go down first. Calamity melting here as Dynasty have the complete advantage of this fight. It's like, did they even get any damage out across the board here? That was all Dynasty.
Lots of things to mention with that fight. Firstly, Mowgli, good snap decision to go in. I really like that. PT Lamb walked all the way to engage. He did not use Afterburn to engage. That's key because it meant he could follow Baron after he tried to retreat.
So smart.
On top of that, very nice positioning from PT Lamb. He stayed, Rikameza, he stayed all the way out of range whilst channeling Dragon's Breath so that he knew he could finish it, which made timing Fearsome Shade very difficult from Aeon. Everything about that last fight was perfect from Dynasty. They have really done some work. They've put the work in from split number one. I'm very excited to see if they can make it all the way this weekend here in this.
I'm really excited as well. And, you know, we see teams win with all sorts of different play styles. Sometimes it's mechanical 1v1 outplays. Sometimes it's just the luck of the draw. It's the draft. This really felt like a cohesive unit, a real team victory. It's exciting to see for Dynasty. So we're going to keep this broadcast moving. We're going to throw it back over to our analyst desk, guys. But hey, what a series.
An incredible series. If you are a Dynasty fan, 2-0 against Calamity Reborn. Phenomenal performance from Dynasty. And, I mean, they've made it to the finals and in comfortable fashion as well. It's not like... I feel like we've seen a totally different side of Calamity Reborn, but also a stronger version of Dynasty than what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, now it's going to be, can they keep this up, is always going to be the question for Dynasty. But really, really well played games. And this one was much better played by Calamity than it was in game number one. But Dynasty was able to be patient enough to look for an opportunity, to wait for a moment where they could finally strike and turn this game around, because early on it looked like it was going to be Calamity running away with it.
Yeah, this is their chair. They're like so decisive, diving under turret, getting that kill on Scarf, and they have a nice power spike here, and they're able to get an early lead. And then Mowgli just comes with these amazing gauntlet engages. Like the shot calling is just superior on the side of Dynasty. Even when they're playing from behind, Mowgli is able to turn around with some great gauntlets, great afterburn combos, and you can see like they can focus Catherine. Like they did this one point and they did not win this fight. But later on, like when Scarf poked and they played to the win condition, Catherine was killed first, and then they won that fight. So they just played to the win condition really well, and then Calamity didn't protect Leon. They needed to protect Leon every fight, and if they did not, they lost.
And the fights were so close throughout the game, but then there was one specific fight where it was the first decisive fight win for Dynasty, and I feel like that was kind of the tipping point, and then from that, Dynasty were able to win it out. This is the fight. This is the moment.
Yeah, this is the Glaive Afterburn into the combo. I mean, the timing of that combo was just amazing from Mowgli and PT. I can tell the communication there. Scarf actually blocks the Fearsome Shade and lands a part of his ultimate onto that Baron, but they just focus their target so well. And then PT Lam on this Glaive, I mean, Glaive shouldn't be successful against a Cath, Baptiste, and a Baron, because Glaive is not that good into Baron. But again, you can see that combo. Like, even though Leon reflex blocked, he still got stunned instantly by that Glaive after, and that really what made the fight win there with that Gauntlet and Glaive combo.
Yeah, and managing to get that combo off. And that's the thing about Rikuma's Scarf on the backline as well, is you've got the entire team of Calamity focusing on that Scarf, trying to stop the Dragon's Breath. And in the meantime, PT Lan is just wrecking health bars in the fight. And
yeah, multiple fights, like almost all of the fights down the stretch featured that PT Lam afterburn knocking someone into a gauntlet. You're going to see it plenty of times throughout the